All right, welcome. We're going to go over some calculator skills to be successful on units 1 through 4 exam. So enter data. We're going to go to stat, edit. There's some nice data in there. Enter data, stat, edit. And then that's number 1. Well, we'll just leave this data in here. We're going to graph a histogram. Well, if I'm going to graph a histogram, I only need one set of data, one quantitative variable. So I'm going to clear, enter, all of L2, leave this L1. I'm going to go to second y equals to graph. I'm going to go to number 1, turn this plot on. And if I'm going to graph a histogram, I'm going to choose the histogram. My X list says L1, which is where my data is. Everything looks good. I'm going to go to zoom 9. Now, not a very exciting graph, but there it is. Same procedure to do a box plot. Choose the box plot. Zoom 9. Oh, it's a little more interesting on a box plot. Look at that outlier. Okay, one variable stats. We're going to go to stat calc, one variable stats. I want this to be L1 where my list is. I'm going to go down to calculate, hit enter, and here's where the mean, the median, the mode, not the mode, the mean, the median, the 5-number summary, the standard deviation, X bar is the mean, S sub X is the standard deviation. There are 10 values in my list, the minimum, Q1, quartile 1, median, Q3, maximum. Now, normal CDF and inverse normal. We use that when we have the normal curve. To get there, we go to second vars. Number 2 for normal CDF. Now, we use this one when we have the z-scores. So I'll leave these z-scores in here. I'll leave the mean and standard deviation set to 0 and 1. Hit enter. If I multiply by 100, that tells me what percent of the data fall between those two z-scores, those two values that fall at those z-scores. We'll use inverse norm. This one's second vars number 3. And here we enter the area, so we enter the percent, and what we get out is the z-score. So normal CDF, we enter the z-score, we get out the percent. Inverse norm, we enter the percent, we get out the z-score. So if I want to know what the z-score is for 25% of the area from the left, this would be the corresponding z-score for 25%, which we should know is going to get us to Q1. So when we get out the z-score, we're not done because what we need to find is the x value. So I'm just going to set this up. So we take the value minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. So what we would be solving for is Q1. So I would take that z-score times the standard deviation, and then I would add the mean over to get there, to get Q1 all by itself. And scatter plots, we first want to make sure our diagnostics are turned on. So we're going to go to mode, and if you scroll down, you'll see stat diagnostics here near the bottom, and you want to go over to on and hit enter. Make sure it's on, and then hit second quit to get out of there. So mode, turn it on. To graph a scatter plot, well, that's two quantitative variables, so I would need data in both lists. I'm just going to, it doesn't really matter, you see it. To graph, so I put data in both lists. To graph the scatter plot, I would go to second y equals number 1. Make sure my plot is on. I'm going to choose the scatter plot this time, and then it'll come up with both lists L1 and L2, and then I'm going to go to zoom 9. Same steps to graph the box plot and histogram. You just choose the other graph. Choose the graph you want. And the linear regression, to get the equation of the line, is under stat, over to calc again. Number 4, make sure you have L1 and L2, your lists. To store the regression equation, you go to vars, over to yvars, then it's number 1, function in y1, and that puts the equation in y1, y equals, you hit calculate, it's going to give me an error because I don't have any data listed in my set. Go to stat calc number 4 to run the linear regression.